Hello. All right, today I'm taking a little detour from my Affinity videos to show you Garment Designer. And Garment Designer is exactly what it sounds like. You design garments in it, and it's super easy. So let me just dive in and show you. This is a dress that I made for a client, super exciting. It's a custom project. She made some really beautiful cyanotype images with some muslin fabric, and she wants to turn it into a dress. So this is the design that I came up with based on her pattern selections and preferences. So we're gonna do a fitting and make changes from there. But let me show you how I designed it using Garment Designer. So you open a new blank canvas, so to speak, in Garment Designer. This is what you will see. Up at the top here, you'll see size groups, and this gives you a huge range of sizes to choose from, everything from dolls' clothes all the way up, infants, toddlers, children's, men's, junior, and a variety of women's sizes. Now, and you can create custom slopers. So this is how I created the sloper or body map that I use to adjust all my patterns, whether they're in Garment Designer or Affinity Designer. But what I did here, I did take measurements of the person, but I didn't take all of the Garment Designer measurements. So what I did was I chose a size that I thought would be close. And then you can go over to Sloper, Edit. You can manipulate these measurements. You can add some additional measurements and resave it as a custom sloper. All right, so that's what I did. And let me select that custom. There it is. And so here we go. We want to design a dress, basic. You can also choose contoured. You can choose princess seam. Okay, but for this one it's just a basic pullover dress. We want a V-neck, and I chose the high curved. Dress style, I did go with average, but let me just show you. You can do A-line, center round hem. It's very interesting. Side round hem. So there's lots of little unique style changes. I chose average, and let me show you why, because it gives you an extra point here to manipulate, whereas the A-line does not. You can only manipulate this point and this point, okay? I keep on clicking that. Let's see, so average, shoulder sloped, yes. This is a sleeveless dress. And I'm not going to add my dart quite yet. I find that adding darts after I've made my, basic width and, whatever adjustments I need tends to come out a little bit better. So I'm just going to start by clicking and dragging over the points that I want to move. And you see it selects it on both the front and the back because I have all of my symmetry options enabled. Mirrored front, back, and left, right. So it's manipulating both the left and the right of the pattern and the front and the back at the same time. Okay, we can't see the left and the right, both sides of the pattern right now, but it is going to still be manipulating it behind the scenes because I have this selected. All right, so I'm just going to use my arrow keys to nudge it inward, take out some of that ease. And again, this green sloper is a representation of body measurements, so there's no ease built in here, okay? And maybe I'll leave it right there. Now I will come down here, same thing. I'm gonna drag this out. And Garment Designer will send you little warnings if you're doing something that it thinks is beyond the parameters of what you should be doing. It is good to check that out, but most of the time, if you're feeling confident about what you're doing, you don't need to worry about it. So I'm going to select here, hit OK. If I do want to know what it's yelling at me about, I can go to, Generate Information Recommendations. And you see what comes up in the red here is what it thinks is not right. So my angle is wrong. It's supposed to be at 90 degrees, and now it's at 82 somehow. I'm okay with that for now, so I'm going to just click off of here and continue to kind of drag this out a bit. And I think that looks pretty good. I think that's similar to what I had before. All right, other changes that I made, I do want my neckline to be wider. I can just kind of click and drag or nudge it with my arrow keys. I also, let me show you one other thing you can manipulate. Let me just put that back. Shoulder, where was it? Neck style. Where was it? Maybe, oh yeah, right here, duh, armhole. Standard, but you also have halter, which looks pretty cool too. But for this one, I went with standard. Yeah. All right. Anyway, click and drag this point, and it is dragging both sides, front and back, something like that. Because this is going to be a pullover dress. I don't plan on putting any closures in it. It's just going to be super nice and easy, simple. I do want it to be more of that, tank toppy style. So I'm going to pull that in as well. And I think that's looking pretty good. So now what I'm going to do, because I do want to make a little bit more, even more room in the neck, I'm going to go ahead and go to options, symmetry options, turn off that front back symmetry, because I'm good with this, I think, at least for now. The depth of the front there, but I do want to take this down a little bit. Nice and roomy, so you can easily get it over your head without a zipper. Because this is going to be a non-stretch garment, okay? All right. That looks great. I'm going to turn my symmetry options back on just in case I make any more manipulations that needs to be more global. I don't think I will, but it's always good to turn that back on because I always forget and get myself in trouble. All right. Now I can go ahead and add my dart. And you see when you add a dart in Garment Designer, it changes the armhole, okay? When you're drafting, if you were drafting this by hand or perhaps in another software program, I don't know, I'm not familiar with a lot of other garment drafting programs that are kind of automatic like this. But, I think it's more usual to, you're changing your length down here. You're not really changing anything up here. But so it does change this whole angle and shape when you add a dart, but it is okay. I will change this a little bit so it looks a little bit more natural. First, though, I'm going to select this little point right here, and it'll show you then the width of your dart. I'm going to start out with a little bit wider dart. I'm going to do 1 inch. I kind of feel like if you're going to have a dart, it needs to be at least 1 inch. It's almost, I don't know, to me it doesn't seem worth it to do a dart that's less than that. Like if it's less than that, maybe you don't need a dart. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. That's just sort of how I feel about it. All right. Now I'm going to change this armhole a little bit to fix it up. First, I am going to go back to my symmetry options, turn this off, because I don't want to change anything about the back. The back looks fine, okay? Then I'm going to zoom in a bit. You cannot pinch and zoom with Garment Designer. It's just not compatible with that. Unfortunately, maybe that's something they can change in the future. You can't pinch and zoom. You can use shortcut keys to zoom in, which I normally do, but these happen to be the same shortcut keys that work with my screen capture software. So I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to zoom in here. All right. Click around to see what's going on. The armhole is in 3 different sections. And you can see that this over here got elongated. So I'm just going to start by moving that. And I love when you click and drag, it's showing you where the line originally was. As long as you don't let go, that'll stay there, which is really handy. I'm gonna go ahead and move it to, so it's like about the same length as this. And that actually shows you down here when you click on the segment. This is an inch. What is this now? Okay, it's yeah, just over an inch. Not bad, not bad. And that looks, you can see that looks so much better, more natural. It's all good. All right, now let me just zoom back out. Now what I'm going to do, we're almost done. I'm gonna go to pieces. I'm gonna display the other half of the front and back. Okay, now we can kind of see our whole pattern. I am also going to show you how to add facings. So if you just select the line that you want to add facings to, I just held down the shift key to select the second one here, the back neck. Then where is it? You can go to additions, add facing. That looks pretty good, 2 1/4 inches, sure. And there you go, there's your facing cut line. I did the same with the armholes because I think I'm gonna go that route with this because I don't have a lot of extra fabric for like a bias binding. So same thing, add facing. Maybe these will be a little bit smaller. I don't know. I'm not sure, but we'll do that for now. Great, now we can go add our seam allowance, same place, global seam allowance. I'm gonna do kind of the standard 5/8 of an inch. And then also we haven't done a hem. Now, since I have my symmetry option still off for front and back, when I selected this, it did not select over here. But if you do have it all selected, boom, selects both of them at the same time, then go to add hem. I'm gonna do 1.5 inches, hit OK. And there you go. Now you see that instead of that global seam allowance, we have a nice little hem there, and it angles it for you. So it just sews up absolutely beautifully. It really does. Everything I have ever produced from Garment Designer, I mean, it just sews, it goes together so well. It's wonderful. All right. Now, I believe our pattern is complete. Oh, one thing that I do also like to do, I don't really like straight darts necessarily, just aesthetically, so I might pull that down a little bit so it's angled. Okay, small change. Now I can go to display, final pattern. Gives you some little markings, some little notches there if you need them, which is nice. I'm also going to turn off my sloper, just show the pattern only. Now, if you're going to project, you may want to leave these dimensions on. You don't have to, but you might want to, just so you have something to measure. If it's the first time you're projecting one of these, that's good to have. What you could also do is go to extras, create a shape, and you can go squarish. I love the ish. It generated a small square, okay, and then you can kind of, manipulate the size of that. You have something to measure. This did generate with the global seam allowance. I believe you are supposed to be able to remove that. Like, let me show you here. If I select this back neckline and I do custom seam allowance, I can hit 0 and it takes it off that way, okay? Let me put that back on though. Custom seam allowance, 0.625, add that back. I believe you're supposed to be able to do it with this as well, but it was not working earlier, and I sent an email to Susan, who puts out this amazing software to see if that's something that she can get fixed. But let's just try it for fun here. Yeah, it didn't take it away. So, for right now, I think that's fixable. Should be fixed in the future, but that's also another way that you could, just create a little square that you can measure to make sure you're projecting at the right size. I'm going to delete that though. And typically I will remove my dimensions, especially if I'm exporting this for further manipulation in Affinity Designer too, or Adobe Illustrator or Inkscape or whatever you use. I recommend getting rid of as much information as you can so you don't have to delete as much on the back end. All right, so let me show you that. Most important thing to remember when saving a file for projecting or for manipulation in a vector program is, and this is not a vector program, it's more like a CAD type program, but most important thing is making sure it's scaled to actual size. What you see is what you get in Garment Designer. So make sure it's the actual size and not something else, because then you'll get, doll clothes instead of something that'll fit you. All right, and then we can go to page setup and make sure you're on a large enough quote unquote piece of paper that the pattern will fit on one thing, one paper, one artboard, one sheet, whatever you want to call it. I have mine set at 60 by 48. You can create custom sizes. Both of these were custom sizes I created, I believe. So you can create your own. You can choose, US letter. You can choose A4, A5, A3, all kind. There's lots of options. But I'm going to go with my huge paper size. Because Garment Designer was not made with projecting in mind. It was made long before that became a popular thing. But you can, print to a large format printer. You can print to your standard desktop printer. So we're basically setting it up for like large format printing here. Then we can go to print. I am using a Mac, so it's really easy. Just go to PDF, save as PDF. I'm going to save it as test right to my desktop here. Okay. Now, I don't know offhand how to do it in Windows, but the Chanel Garment Designer YouTube channel, I believe, does have a video on how to export a PDF in Windows. I'll try to find that and link that below. All right, let's see. I'm going to pull that new file into Affinity. And just show you what it looks like. Open. Okay. So now you will have to select all and ungroup all. Okay, and then I just go in and delete all these little extra things that we do not need that might get in the way. Can delete that too. The pattern generates with some information. Oops, that was weird. Some information down here, like what sloper you used, how long the overall dress is, that kind of thing. Which is nice, but I'm gonna delete it. Delete that. There's some like hidden boxes you want to get rid of. But overall, it's pretty quick and easy as long as you didn't keep your dimensions in there, okay? And as long as you export it at actual size, you can trust it. I can, just do a measurement. This should be, somewhere around, I'm in points. inches. I should have, yeah, so that looks about right as far as my, shoulder to bust. So yeah, it should be accurate. But yeah, I just wanted to show you now, before we could only manipulate, these points here, this point here, and this point there. But now in Affinity, if I go to my node tool and select, you can see you've got full elasticity. You can do whatever you want. And of course, if I were pulling this in with for the purpose of additional manipulations, I would not have included my seam allowance, but that's the only difference that I would have, the only change I would make. Okay, I think I accomplished what I wanted to in this video. Just like a nice overview of Garment Designer and what you can do. Is Garment Designer perfect? No, it's all software is a work in progress. Are there things that I wish it could do that it doesn't? Sure. But you can do so much with this program so easily. And the price point is pretty reasonable, I think, for what it can do. So yeah, I bought this maybe like 2 years ago now, I want to say. I don't know. Time flies so fast. I can't keep track. It's ridiculous. But I don't regret it. I still do not regret it. I love Garment Designer. This actually is a beta version that Susan was kind enough to let me kind of play around with and test out. So I'll be making more videos as I'm kind of testing and exploring. They just moved, one exciting new update is they just moved to like an all digital registration code system, whereas before they had they mailed you a separate little flash drive dongle that you had to plug into your computer to get it to activate. So now that's all digital online, so that's exciting. I think that will open up, the software to more people. But yeah, I love it. Let me know what you thought of this video. What do you want to see more of? What do you want me to design? Give me a project. Yeah, just talk to me. What do you think? All right, I'm going to take off. Thanks for watching and take care. Bye-bye.